Okay. Now, I talked about spam and ramen and lawyers. And the reason we talked about this, one of the things that came out of the Clio Legal Trends report, kind of the top level on this, was the lawyers are not keeping up. Lawyers' pricing and business models are not keeping up with changes in inflation, meaning basically you are discounting your services over time. We talked about this last week. We presciently saw this coming, Guy, and then boom, it shows up in the Clio Legal Trends report. Bob Ambrogi did an interesting cover on this. We'll make sure that goes in the show notes. But the reason I talk about spam and ramen, there's a macroeconomic theory of the countercyclical demand product. What the heck does that mean? For those of you,
that's MBA talk right there.
No, that's Econ. That's even nerdier than MBA talk. They
don't teach that in law school.
Microeconomics, and it basically talks about there are some products out there that the worse the economy is, the greater the demand for that product. And spam is an obvious one, because people, as your micro econ teacher will tell you, people will start replacing their strip steak with canned spam, right? So they're still getting meat, but it's not high end. And it's an interesting perspective. You know, when we dealt with the economic downturn brought about by COVID, there was a downturn for legal because people weren't driving and getting in wrecks. People weren't driving drunk. The courts were closed, like nothing was happening. And so there was kind of this reduction. But Guy, can you talk about how in an economic downturn, we actually may see an increase in the demand for legal services, and therefore no reason to keep your pricing as it were?
Yeah. And so again, go check out the Legal Trends report. But the one of the big headlines was kind of this interesting situation where demand for lawyers is up. And if you're wondering about that, you're like, well, I don't understand. It's like, well, think about it. Economic hardship times create more stress, more anxiety, can put stress on families, put stress on personal finance. So you think bankruptcy, family law,
crime.
Sadly, I'm sorry.
Crime.
Sadly, crime. That's where I was going.
Oh, sorry.
Sadly, all those, right? Those are all, but this is what a lot of consumer-facing lawyers help people navigate some of these tougher issues. And so Legal Trends report, demand for legal services up, and we don't know unfortunately, they don't segment it by practice area, at least that I didn't see. So we don't know specifically which segments are particularly up. But the pricing is not keeping pace. So lawyers they're not raising their hourly rates. They're to a large extent still, even though legal services and consumers want this, they're not changing their pricing models. And the short answer is that the way I look at it is this: look, things get more expensive if you don't address the pricing issue. At best, it's cutting a little bit into your margin, but eventually there's an inflection point where like you're not keeping up with being able to like pay your bills, right?
Or do a great job for your clients, right?
Right. And again, this is another thing too, and we talk about this in the context of like the wellness stuff, but like if your pricing is causing you to have financial strain and hardship and stress and anxiety, to Conrad's point, this is the thing I think a lot of lawyers don't connect, is that you're not doing the best you possibly can for clients, period. And I would talk to lawyers all the time. They're like, lawyers are outside of this. Like, we just do great for clients no matter what. And I'm like, you know what? And then you wonder why there's lawyers index high for substance abuse issues and all of the family issues that we talk about. You got to take care of yourself. And part of taking care of yourself and taking care of your business, because it is a business, not just a hobby for many of you, is to understand your pricing in a time of historic inflation growth.
All right. So change your pricing. It's Q4. It's a great time to up your rates, even for your existing clients who have been sticking with you. They're happy with you. Great time to up your rates. Q4.
Money makes a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round.